Hello everyone, once again, this is Shivam Agarwal. We are back in the video with the new topic, objects. In the previous video, we have already learned about classes, its creation, and the use of init function. Today, we'll look at objects. We'll look at how to create objects, how to use them, how to change values using objects, and how to delete the object or its property. Okay, so we have already created this my class. Let me add some more variables to it. For example, age. So age is 20. I have already created this. We have to supply another variable here because we have age. So I'll give, for your convenience, I'll give a new variable here. And using the self function, we'll assign a value to the age that is already present in the class. So self.age, you already know how to write this, becomes age. So now that I've changed the notation here, you can understand that this age and this age are already the same, and the age member that is present in the class is accessed using this self.age. Okay, to supply this from user, we'll also have to supply another value here, which will be a constant or an integer, because age is type of an integer. So let me supply just 25. So it will be the age. Let us try to print this thing. So it's giving us 25. Okay, so it's working now. Let us try to create the object first. So we have created the class for this my class. I have age, that is 20, name as this, and you have already created the def function. How to create an object? So object creation starts with the object name. The class creation started with the class attribute, that is a predefined one, but objects we will start with the object name. So let us name the first object as obj1. So this will be our first object, followed by an equal to sign. And now this object belong to which class? We have to specify that. This object has to belong to my class. So we'll write my class, and that is it. We have created the first object. You have to use this parenthesis also to determine that this class is this word is a class that is created already. Now that you have defined init function inside the class, this object expects some values. Okay, so name and age are the values that are expected by this object, because the user already has to supply these two values. Okay, so we'll try to supply these values also. Self is a optional parameter here. We'll supply a name called as maybe as Raghav, and we'll supply his age as 30. Now that we print object name and age, we will expect the new values. So we'll expect obj1, write the object name. Now we are trying to use the objects of the class. How to use the object of the class? We'll write obj1, okay, using a dot operator. I've also mentioned before that you can also use the dot operator for my class also. But this is the standard way to use any element of the class. Write an object name followed by a dot operator and then the attribute name. The attributes of the class are the data variables, that is name and age. Okay. So first of all, we will try to print the name, and then we will try to print the age. So just writing the object name is obj1, dot operator, and we have to supply age, that is the property. Let's try to execute it. We will get Raghav and 30 as our new values. Okay, so we have created the object using this specific method. Name of the object followed by equals to sign, then name of the class that it belongs to, and then the required parameters if you have defined the init function. Using the object is also very simple. Use the object name followed by a dot operator, and then followed by the property or attribute that you want to access. Okay, so this is how you can print the values. How about changing the values? How will you change the value? If you have mentioned age here as 20, you want to change it from the class. Okay, let me show that if you not supply here any value, what will happen? If you don't supply here, init will not run because you haven't supplied any parameters. what will happen is just try to execute it, and there will be required parameters name and age. Okay, once you have named these two things, if you want to change again, how will you do? You will create another object and then supply another value and use that object. That is not an optimal task. Okay, so now that you have to change these values, once you have already put it, there's another method same like this to change the values. Let us see how to do it. Let us say you have to change the name to another person. So what we'll do, use the object name itself, obj1, use the dot operator and the property name, and change it as you want. Okay, so let me show this and change it to Ajay. Okay, I want to change it to Ajay, and the age also I want to change. So I will say obj1 dot age equals 11. It's a child. Okay, this is Ajay child. I want to change this, and as I have done this, I will expect the new values to come. So let us try to execute it and see what happens. Okay, we are getting the new values Ajay and 11. So you have learned how to change the values once you have put it in the class. Okay, if you haven't described in it, it will always possess age as 20 and name as ABC. Now that you have described in it by yourself, you have to supply some values on declaration of the object. Okay, so you have supplied Raghavan 30. Now that you have made a mistake and you have to change the values, what will you do? You will use the same method that you have used to access the properties to change the values. Okay, now if I want to create another object, what will happen? Let's see. Let's name the other object as obj2, and similarly create the object using the specific method that I already told you, using the class name and supplying some values. So just supplying some value, saying as Wasim, and age maybe 24, right? So now this object 2 contains this name and age of the same class but having different values, Wasim and 24. Okay, so if we print the name and age of second object, that is obj2, what will happen? Name and age. What will happen? Let's see, try to understand. Ajay 11 and Wasim 24. So the first object that we created has Ajay and 11 as their properties, while object 2 is not associated by any means with object 1 other than that it belongs to the same class. You can see here and here, they belong to the same class, but they have different values of properties that I described you in the first introductory video. That two objects belong to the same class, and other than that they don't have anything in common. Okay, so if I have created an object with Wasim and 24, it will not interact with the first object that already had values Ajay and 11. Okay, so if you want to create suppose a class of n number of students, you can create a same class with all the properties, their roll numbers, subjects and all, and you can create multiple objects for different students to describe their values. Okay, so that is how you deal with changing the values. Next, last point is deleting. So how do we delete the objects? So once the objects are created, they are stored in the memory. Once we are over using them, once we have used them for our task, we might try to delete the objects. Okay, so let me remove this object 2. We'll work with object 1 only. So if we try to delete this, we can do this by using del keyword. So this is the keyword del. What we'll do is del space the object name. That will delete the object. So now that I have placed this del obj1 here, if I try to access name and age using this object, it should give me an error. Let's see if it does or not. Yes, it is giving error that name obj1 is not defined. So it's saying that obj1 is already deleted. You cannot access after you have deleted. Okay, so you have to delete the object only after you have used the element. So here if I delete, and now if I try to run, it won't give me an error. Okay, so that is how you delete an object. Another way is, what you have created the class with age, but in this object you don't want age. in this for this student particularly, you don't want his age. What will you do? You if you print object, then it will show name and age both. Okay, so you want to delete property of an object, you can do this also by using the same. You use a del keyword obj1, accessing the property is using dot operator, and you supply age. So if you delete obj1.age, obj1.name will still give us value, but this line number 16 obj1.age will give us an error because we have deleted age property for this specific object. If you create another object, age will be available. It is not deleted from the class. It is deleted for the object one specifically. Okay, let's try to execute it. So Ajay is the name that is changed. Okay, and age property, that is 11, is deleted for this. Now age equal to 20, that is the default value there was, will be executed for this one. Okay, so that is how you delete the property of the value. If you have to restore the defaults, you can use del obj1.age or del obj1. Anything that you want. For example, name also. If I say del obj1.name, it will restore the defaults. That's ABC and 20. Okay, that is how you work with objects. I hope you have learned a quite good things now. That is it for today. Thank you.